Welcome to the WoodsTalk podcast extra branch. Does that seem decent?
Oh, that's more like it.
Oh, happy days.
Oh, yes, there we go. That's our, it was the fucking slow Wi-Fi.
I'm sure I'll
Okay,
tell you
hold on to that.
Mine's is Ballocks and my end as well.
This is really good, but I was on the fucking sandwich cove, fucking Wi-Fi there. I was like, why is this so fucking such a delay?
Yeah, that's a fucking awkward wank. Tell you that on the sandwich co Wi-Fi. Caesar salad and bust a nut.
As long as you get a stamp on my loyalty card, I'm all right.
Well, anyway, man, very, very nice to see you. It's been a while. Thanks a million for coming on.
Man, it's fucking mental, all this crack, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's very nice to see, because I admit I was a bit hesitant because anybody that I know who's involved in podcasting, I almost feel bad for asking them to do another one because you're involved in a few. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's people don't understand how knackering it is, sir.
It's actually, yeah. Well, I'm kind of used to it because of a load of Zoom meetings. My work, like, there's a lot of meetings all the time. Most of the time I spend looking to see what the other person's house looks like. But it's
it's like virtual time with me, isn't it? It's like that.
That's what it's like, yeah. Go and fix that fucking picture frame, it's crooked there.
Put the double out of the sink, would you? Let it soak. Let it steep along with the lasagna pot.
And that's just the chairman of the council.
Yeah, he's the mayor. I can't. God bless him.
So yeah, it's been strange. So it does knacker you whenever you do those meetings. It's definitely a lot more draining than the face-to-face meetings.
Oh yeah. Is it because of the nature of your work, your bread and butter work, let's call it? Do you have to be engaging, or is it not? It's not like one of those things where you could just mute yourself and go back to your bed or fuck a hole in the couch or something like that. No one would know.
I'm not going to say on that if I have ever
that's a yes.
turned off the video and press mute. I'm not going to say that. Bluetooth speakers are a great thing. That's all I can say. Yeah, no, it's
you could just
it's
do like,
yeah, it's a strange one.
Yeah, you could do like
the guy who did the he turned his video off and then changed his username to trying to reconnect. ...
What a great lad!
That was fucking genius. And I was a kid at school. So
yeah,
as you know, you'd do anything to get out of it. Like.
It's sort of like the modern day equivalent of people who have like funny Wi-Fi names, or back even further than that, funny Bluetooth names, where it was like, yeah. I remember I was on the 273, and funny enough, you know when you stop off in Oma for 6 hours before you go to Strabane. So I was chilling and I went on Bluetooth. That's how long ago this was. And one of the Bluetooth names was "Not a Virgin Anymore." So stuck my dick in a bit of gammon. Happy days.
When you lost your virginity, would you not broadcast it over Bluetooth too? If you had a chance, only you're so old.
Oh, I made her my top 16 in Bebo. That's how grateful I was. Got her a mask card as well. Lovely.
In love and memory of. Oh no.
Doreen.
God rest her soul.
Yeah, God bless her. I tell you what though, I'd never heard of Zoom before COVID. If I'm being honest.
I'd like to know the guy who has the most shares.
Oh, that guy he's fucking bitches. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of bitches now.
He is minted. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before.
Neither have I. And now it's
Zoom or Skype and WebEx was a couple of ones that we would have used at work, but never had to use Zoom before. But it was wild weird. Do you remember Zoom came out around about the same time as House Party happened? Remember House Party app? Didn't last too long. Last about a week or two.
Yeah, it was like
and everybody thought, oh, Zoom's dead now because House Party's in. But nah.
Yeah.
You realise there's no crack sitting looking at your auntie for 3 hours now.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it in person, let alone over the phone. Like,
yeah, exactly. Make an excuse to get the fuck out.
So
Trying to reconnect. Just run up the screen.
Is your podcast set up now? Am I led to believe there's a studio in Oma, sort of like a purpose-built vibe now for stuff?
Well, when we say purpose-built, there's a room, and we've put the podcast equipment in there. So,
all right.
No, it's a great job. Like, yeah, it's we hire out the studio basically, and now we're trying to look into investing in our own studio. We're in for a while during lockdown.
Where were you, sorry?
Became known in my shed, my garden shed. Right. It's a big shed. It wasn't that small, but
what a weird thing to brag about.
Well, the size of me and Mickey. I thought I was getting there before you said, "Fuck, it must be a big shed."
Yeah. Oh no, I was just thinking of Mickey's ego more than anything.
There's no room big enough for that.
Oh Jesus.
But so that became sort of the jokey name of the Shed of Truth. Yeah. And so we had actually it was great because the two of us smoke. So it was the only time throughout the podcast, every so often you'd hear the inhale and the exhale of the fucking dragging of the fags.
Yeah.
So we were able to. Some of the podcasts were a bit longer because we weren't dying to get a first smoke break.
Exactly.
But yeah, in this place now we're not allowed to.
Can't do it.
Smoke. No. So we're looking into that to see if we can try and convert somewhere and see. But this is perfect.
Yeah. So is the studio for the benefit of the podcast, or just so you can smoke? Do you know what I mean? Is that the motive?
It's probably heavily towards. Yes, it's for the podcast. Always for the podcast.
Yeah. Because it's how many is it you do? Is it 2 you do now? Is it Deck Chair and Yums and then Best of the Best?
My mate from younger days, Ronnie Mullen, and just one of those things where we're both been geeks for years, talking shite over pints.
Yeah.
And we just thought, well, we give it a go. So we did that, and we did it for about 4 or 5 months, and then out of nowhere, Bartlett just popped up and was like, "Here, do you fancy doing a podcast?" I was like, "What are you doing in my bathroom?" And that was it, really. I mean, you know yourself, if one of the best comedians in the North comes asking you to do a podcast, you're going to do it. My difficulty was obviously I have family and stuff, so I said to him, I was like, if you're willing to come to Oma every week to come and do a podcast, I'm there, no problem.
Yeah.
And genuinely, you know, Mickey, I thought this was going to last 3 or 4 weeks, and you go, it was good when it lasted.
Yeah.
But no, he's been dedicated as fuck, man. He's down every week and twice a week sometimes because we do a quiz. We do the live quiz on Friday night sometimes.
So you do, yeah. The following seems to be quite strong now, hey? I don't know.
It has
the exact numbers, obviously, but it seems to be. You have merch now. I mean, that's a great sign on a Patreon. So
that was supposed to come out in so I think the summertime was the first time Mickey mentioned anything to do with merch, and I don't have any interest in merch, and everybody wanted to get involved in that end of things. So I said, Mickey, if you want to do it, and you're willing, so fair play to him. It's all been him. He's done all the work and all the legwork. I'm just going to take half the money.
Yeah, God bless you.
Happy day.
That's
fucking time you done something.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, fuck me. You know what I mean?
Apart from providing all the entertainment and the material of the podcast, I mean, you could do something else.
I know, God forbid he would get you a fucking 10 of Ribena or some shit. I don't know. I haven't.
But what about yourself? How are you getting on?
I'm doing rightly. Doing the podcast specifically has saved my life during this lockdown, you know, in terms of being productive, because I realized quite soon into this whole fucking situation that I don't have a lot of interests, to be honest, and I'm not willing to try fuck all. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like these people you see on Instagram that are like, oh, during lockdown I became a fucking qualified ventriloquist, and you're like, fuck up. Would you and your fucking
all these people who trained up and retrained for everything,
yeah, learning Arabic and baking banana bread, and you're like, you're making me feel like a fucking loser here. Do you know what I mean? When I'm sitting here going, oh well, I managed to do a half decent souffle today, fuck up. Yeah, but you know yourself, the amount of work kept me rightly. But one thing I was definitely wondering, you know, because all the boys do podcasts, they're all pretty similar-ish, but I was wondering with the best of the best stuff, you know, because you're dealing with, you know, films and albums and stuff like that there. Do you get many snobby bastards coming in because you say you don't like, say you're like, this bit in Shawshank is a bit overrated or something? Because usually the whole internet is people who argue with people about
Politically.
music. You know what I mean?
Not too bad. We've had a couple of ones who maybe disagreed with a selection or something, but that's the whole point of it. Was it's our choice. That's the joy of a podcast. We're under nobody's in charge except for us. So when we agree on something, the hardest thing for us to agree on is music, because Ronnie will be quite thrash metal would be quite down his scene, and it's not my vibe at all. So getting him to listen to Bell and Sebastian is not going to happen. You know what I mean? So
Bell and Sebastian, that's good. Good wake music. Good wake music.
God forgive you. It's art house music, I think. You know,
avant-garde as fuck. That's what it is.
I don't be messing about with the bell now because I love it. But yeah, so he would have the exact same reaction. Go and fuck yourself. Not putting that on. So movies and TV is where it becomes kind of we're always on common ground and that stuff. You know. So but no, sometimes you get a lot of people requesting things. Yeah. Will you do this or will you do that sort of thing? And to be honest with you, there's loads of obvious ones we haven't touched yet. So like Simpsons, Father Ted, you know, things like that. We love them so much that we don't think it'll be fair to them to go and do it half-assed. You'd have to really get into it, because we know, especially Father Ted, for instance, locally, you know yourself, there's so many diehard fans that you need to be getting it right, you know. So but it also means we've legs, we can wait.
100%, man. I mean, that's half the battle. I suppose it's the same with stand-up, as having stuff in the barrel for later gigs or later podcasts is invaluable. The Father Ted thing, I still argue with my mates about Father Ted to this day, and I don't even know how long it's been off the air. I don't know when Father Ted finished, but I still have not like serious arguments, but you know, when you speak about, you know, what are the best episodes, like a lot of my mates love the Brendan Grace episode, and I don't like it at all. It's my least favorite. But then they would say the worst episode of Father Ted is the pilot, the very first one, which I think is amazing.
I think it's pretty good too for a pilot. Like, it's
100%.
I always said it was maybe one up there as one of the best pilots ever made of any country. I thought it was the quality of it. But I think do you think the concept really sold it here? Especially here, because we were so sort of surrounded by priests and nobody was allowed to take the piss out of them or any sort of crack. It was the sort of first time for me in a way that happened. Yeah,
I think you know, either way that provoked a reaction, because I know like my granny wouldn't even entertain the idea of Father Ted being on the house. She's super into it. And I suppose based on our history, religion has played like a wee bit of a part, it's fair to say.
Well, I wouldn't say a big part, but it's been
drips and drabs. You know,
it's been mentioned the odd time.
Very odd time. Tim McGarry wouldn't be driving a Merc if it wasn't that case.
Tim McGarry would be drinking outside the Merchant.
You see a price in there?
Instead of inside it.
No. So it's weird that Father Ted, people still talk about it, and you know, particularly at this time of year, there's no way that the Christmas special isn't going to be talked about. It isn't going to be watched 4 or 5 times. And I suppose the thing about the Christmas special is, I know he's a bit of a lunatic now. What do you call the guy who plays Todd Unctious? What do you call that guy? What do you call that guy? Isn't he from home? Isn't he from that area?
Jerry McSorley.
Jerry McSorley. I know he's fond of the Smillicks now or whatever. I don't know what the fucking crack is, but he's so good in that. Like, and it's good to see the Northern Irish accent featuring Father Ted in that way. Like, I don't think that character would have worked if it wasn't Northern Irish.
Yeah, it had to be him. Like, it had to be somebody from the north. Like, it just added that whole fucking. I don't know what it is about our accent, especially when you compare it to the south. Is it just more sinister? Mickey always used to do a bit about that, but we're not the fiddly D.
Yeah, that's true.
Irish, we're the fucking get out of the fucking car.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's something about it.
Even when we're at a Pilates class, we sound like fucking aggressive bastards. You know what I mean? Like yoga, downward fucking dog. No worries.
Down the towers under there from the Noma, fucking all spiritual. Fuck you and your fucking soulmates.
Get the fuck away from my chakra, would you? You're all up in my aura, you fucking hellion.
Is it a green aura or orange aura?
It's spelled I-R-A, not O-R-A. I tell you what, though, I've always wondered, the last couple of years with that Christmas special, Father Ted, was it written with a Northern Irish accent in mind for that character? Because, like, some of the dialogue is so organically suited to someone from here. You know the bit where he's like, I was running with scissors and I hurt myself, and like that wee bit, that's where it screams Northern Ireland to me, that wee bit.
And part of me always wondered, did McSorley improvise any of it? Did they allow that? Or Linehan and Matthews were so fucking smart, they probably could hear the Northern accent and put it, so you never know with them too.
Yeah.
What would you, we're drawing up a list actually of next year, so you're on our list for best of the best. So if you were to come to best of the best with TV, film, or album, what would it be?
I figured
you can't do Father Ted.
Okay, and it's anything of my choice, yeah?
Anything of your choice, yeah. Because then what happens is you get to choose what it is and let us know in advance, and then we research, and then we all sit down and talk about it.
Right. Well, if I had to just pick one of each for consideration, TV, The Royal Family. I don't know if you've done that already.
No, we haven't done that, but it's on our list. That's a good shout, yes.
Film, Big Trouble in Little China.
We are doing that.
Are you doing that, you bastard?
Yeah, his younger brother is a diehard fan.
Oh, sweet. In that case, then Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, yes.
Would that be considered? Nice. And then for the album, it would either be On the Turn by Curb Dog, who are an Irish punk band, or this would be a weird one. Queen On Fire live at Milton Keynes Bowl, that live record.
Right. Now explain that one.
Again, this is fucking going to annoy some people. You know the way when you talk about certain bands, there's like a signature record, maybe two. So you talk about Oasis, What's the Story, or what's the fucking Definitely Maybe,
yeah,
or like Songs to the Deaf, Appetite for Destruction, Master of Puppets. I personally don't feel Queen have an album like that. There's a few. I always feel they've got a couple of bangers on each album, but I don't feel.
Yes, who did we have the same problem with? Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I totally agree.
We had the same problem when we tried to go through the back catalogue. There's no actual perfect parcel.
Yeah.
Like a Nevermind or anything. No, there's nothing there. That's just a.
Yeah. So that would be my vibe.
So that's why the live one then. But then, I mean, is it not then just a greatest hits album?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I may look like a dick now. Let me think. If I had.
But it does. No, but I wonder about that because there's nothing better than Bob Marley Legend, but it's a greatest hits album.
That's true. I suppose.
You know what I mean? It's like every single, but it's seen as an album by itself. It's just because it's not called the greatest hits, but it fucking is. Like, but
yeah, that's always the thing. Is it the Eagles as well? I think their best selling, or there's always that argument that like there's Hotel California, but I think their biggest selling might be their greatest hits, and it's kind of it works, but it's a cop out. I understand what you mean. I'm trying to think an album that's probably
just
not
putting you under wild pressure now.
I take it Purple Rain's been done.
No, not yet.
Purple Rain then.
Okay, we did Prince, we did Sign of the Times, but we didn't do.
Oh, very niche. Very niche. I like it.
Oh, we don't care. We don't care about niche now. You can come on niche if you want. But yeah, we don't.
I'll have a think more so about the record for sure.
Yeah, but the Curb Dog one, I didn't know myself. I don't know that, so I'll have to go. That would be nice to research something different.
They're from Kilkenny originally.
Right. What year are you talking about?
I don't know, but I can find out. I'll link you some of the stuff.
Good man.
They sort of heavily influenced like Biffy and stuff like that, but they're not massively famous at all. But some brilliant stuff. Like you'd probably quite like them.
They're usually the best bands in the world.
100%.
The ones that aren't famous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the Belle and Sebastians.
Yeah, the Belle and Sebastian of Irish punk. That's one thing I don't miss about any sort of snobbery. And I was talking about this last night with McGarry, funnily enough, when I was recording with him. The music snobs are some of the worst people in the world, and specifically, and we might have hinted on this already, metalheads, like legitimate metalheads who consider every other type of music a sign of homosexuality.
It's completely beneath their level. Yeah.
We're like, you can like Pantera, but also appreciate the Strokes. Do you know what I mean? And they're just going, no, that's fucking, what are you doing? Fucking chewing arseholes as well? And you're like, no, I just happen to like a bit of.
You're not allowed to like that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It rings about.
To be honest with you, I had a wee bit of elitism for a while there. Was it maybe, I think maybe until the last 10 years, I kind of caught myself on a wee bit. And, because there was things that, you kind of did feel that certain, especially if you were following what do you say, a trend, especially when all the naughties bands came out, when from Arctic Monkeys to the Killers, and then all the ones that I ever forgot, like the Bravery and the Answer and all these sort of fucking stuff. A lot of this. So that it was they were seen as the cool things. You thought anything less than that was shit. But it's kind of like stand-up, where you just got to realize that it doesn't matter who's singing the songs or who's telling the joke. If it's funny or if it's good song, it's good. Simple as that.
Yeah, good,
even sometimes that's down to pop, and I don't listen to pop too often, but there's sometimes that you can come on, you're going, that's a fucking banger.
Yeah.
Absolute banger. And actually it annoys you sometimes that you like it, but
oh yeah, 100%. You're sitting there, like, I've always had like an alternative sensibility with music.
Same as that, yeah.
So I'm like, sort of, when I was growing up, it was like Linkin Park and like a bit of Green Day here and there, and then it melded into like Chili Peppers, Strokes, Queens of the Stone Age, all that sort of like Rage. And then Lady Gaga does a song with Beyonce called Telephone, and I'm like, giving it fucking stacks. Gwen Stefani, Bruno Mars got some bangers. You know,
Bruno writes a fucking cracking pop tune. Like.
He's a great lad.
He's a good fella now. He can sing a wild pint. Hey?
Oh, God bless him. He was brilliant in dailies that night. Oh, he was class. That opens up.
Not if you see a musical act these days.
Yeah, fuck's sake.
You just made me feel old there when you're saying growing up in Linkin Park was involved. It just showed you the gap in age between us two. So what is that gap? What age are you?
30.
See, I have nearly 10 years on you, like, so that's Linkin Park to me were teeny bop band.
Oh, right enough.
All the teens liked them, yeah. So I would have been, that's when I would have been at my elitist height.
Yeah.
I'm going, Linkin fucking Park. Yeah.
It's your own response. Linkin fucking Park. And that's all you need to say, and go, he doesn't like
it. You have to say.
He's not a big, not a lot of cultures seem to like new metal, I've found over the years. Cultures don't seem to be big into Korn or Stained or anything like that there.
Like I say, Ronnie's mad, obviously thrash metal stuff. So, but I know him, a couple of friends of mine who would be big metal heads, but also techno heads.
That's definitely a trend.
Which is a weird thing to find the two linking together. Except that I class both as shite, so maybe that's that's a trend. But no, it seems to be, and I know. I remember a friend of mine saying to me one time, "It just depends on the drugs, man."
Oh,
that's what I mean. It was like, well, there's an environment for techno, and there's drugs for techno, and there's an environment for metal, and there's a drug for metal. I was like, oh, okay, I suppose that put it like that. That makes more sense.
I suppose, and you could testify this a bit better, but if you were at a hardcore techno gig or something like Scooter or something like that, weed isn't going to cut it. You know what I mean? Where you're like if I was on weed at a Scooter gig, I would just like specky lava lamp and just been, but everybody else is going fucking mad. But
you wouldn't. The concert would be on. You'd be the bag eating hot dogs.
Exactly.
It's just not the drug of choice for any concert, to be honest.
Dandering about looking for lasagna. But there's definitely there's something about small towns, and this could be applicable to Oma. I always found in Strabane, this was common knowledge, that Katie Daly's was obviously where the fights were at the weekend. Everybody would get blocked and listen to dance music and take E's and stuff like that there, and that's always where the scraps were. But the alternative bars that listened to Soundgarden and stuff, full of weed smokers, there was never fucking any trouble.
Yeah, same in Oma. Never had a problem. Back in the way, like I'm at the age where it was grungers versus ravers. There were only two categories. There were no other categories. So basically, you were either in the techno scene. Anything outside of techno was grunge. Even though grunge is one type of guitar music, the culty ravers just classed it all as grunge. So you were a grunge or a raver, and I never got into the techno scene at all. I think it was because I always played music, so being in bands and fucking about was never in that crowd.
I suppose, you know, like when I was younger, I used to play the drums and stuff like that. My view towards all that techno music, and now I have swayed towards, like, I know this isn't techno, but like the Prodigy, Daft Punk, Chemical Brothers. Yeah,
exact same things happen to me.
Tremendous stuff.
Even going back and look at Kraftwerk and seeing what they did. It was,
what do you call the guys who did the tune for Train Spotting? You know that Underworld,
yeah,
stuff like that. But I think when you're young,
But do you think that's like food? You know, your palate sort of matures enough where you can appreciate things that you previously didn't like when you were younger.
oh, I like broccoli now.
I like cheese now.
Do you?
Never liked it. Yeah, I love it. Love it, as you can see.
Do you reckon there's some element of the fact that you were learning how to play an instrument, you just didn't respect techno music because essentially it was just some press and play, basically?
Exactly what it was. I never gave it the respect, and it's only when I got older that I realized that, oh shit, there's probably respect due there, because the writing of some of the tunes, like to the point there are some techno tunes that I could hear the lick or the melody of it, and I'm away. I can go, I fucking remember it. You know what I mean? There are bits that stay with you, even though it wasn't music that I was into.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of melody. I love a good melody.
Slut for a melody.
I get hard for a good fucking tune. Right?
Just throbbing at the thought of a decent chord progression.
In 4/4.
Give it to me. Do you know what the thing is though? If you were big and like, I suppose you might have had this as well, that when I started swaying towards liking that sort of music, you know, pre-Shazam days, it was hard to go, what do you call that song? Because no, if it was like Alice in Chains, you could sing a bit. But you can't go like, what do you call that dance tune? It's like diddle 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 diddle. Do you know what I mean?
Worst thing is, there were boys who would have got that. It's a pretty good fucking shout there.
Yeah,
yeah, that is the thing, and because I would have been a big fan of lyrics, obviously to go with that melody, and
big fan of lyrics.
Big fan of lyrics. Love me some lyrics. Love me some songwriting, and that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't equate the two together.
Yeah,
I just didn't think. Yeah, but then again, I also didn't listen to jazz because I was a fucking teenager and I wasn't 45.
Yeah,
but like jazz in the last number of years, I've started to catch on to that a bit, which obviously has no no structure, no melody, no fuck all, but
yeah,
somehow it works. So yeah,
I think growing up in Tyrone, you couldn't get away with listening to jazz. Like if I had a towel,
I got in a lot of trouble. I got I remember nearly getting run out of town for listening to Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album in '94. All my mates going, who the fuck? What are you, a black man or something? I was like, listen to what he's saying.
Yeah,
like hip hop just wasn't there, and in all reality, hip hop didn't really come to Ireland until Eminem, really.
That's fair.
You were kind of like an outsider if you listened to any hip hop.
Yeah.
It was seen as very American. There was no, especially when Snoop Dogg was going to be banned in the UK as well. That was another big.
Yeah. It's so mad that he was so controversial and now he's doing ads for Just Eat. Do you know what I mean?
It's and he's working with fucking Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Cookery program.
Chicken wings. And you're like, oh, 2 million quid. I tell you what. You see the jazz thing you were saying? I was just thinking, if I told my dad that I was listening to jazz, he would have got an Exorcist. Get the yellow pages, right?
Well, that's when your dad would know you're maturing. That's what it would be.
Oh, just or gay.
I don't know, man. A bit of Charles Mingus and a bit of fucking John Coltrane. I think you'll be. I don't know. You'll be shifted. I'll link you up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So when you were growing up, then appreciating dance, was grunge your main thing, or was that just how it was kind of pigeonholed?
That's how it was pigeonholed, but it was also the music of the time. So Nirvana and Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all those bands were massive. And then Rage obviously had come in, and I was a wee bit late to Rage as well. I wasn't there at the start.
Yeah,
because I think it was '92 or '93 the first album came out. So I was only I was still bombastic, things like that. I was still still hanging on to the coattails of Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? I was a big Jacko fan when I was in primary school. Yeah,
I'm still a fan, but it's that classic thing of, can you tell anybody that you still listen to him because of all that jazz that happened with him? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's an ultimate shame, isn't it? Because nobody really gave a fuck when it happened to Gary Glitter, because it's only one song.
Exactly.
Really. But this is a full back catalogue, so people had to really think about it.
Yeah, like a lot of good stuff.
It's a back catalogue of bangers, and you're like, oh, come on, Mickey, what's going on, man?
Yeah. Again, this is a very best of the best sort of conversation, but fuck it. I think, here's me dissing musical snobs, and I'm coming across like a complete one. I think Bad is a better album than Thriller, personally. I think it's a stronger record. Just saying.
That was my first ever album bought.
Right enough.
Yeah,
Cassette?
my cassette. My mum allowed me to get it on my birthday, August 1987. So I was 6, which is not bad for a fucking to be that young and not interested in music.
Yeah, fair play. You had good taste early. You know what I mean?
Because of that tie that I have to it, nostalgic thing, I could see that.
Yeah.
But I always think of the context of Thriller. I mean, that fucking blew everything out of the water and still does at times.
That's true.
Yeah, okay, I could accept that. I would. There's a couple of really good tunes on Badly. Really good.
Yeah. I'm getting a message about this meeting's going to end in 10 minutes. What the fuck's that about?
They only give you 40 minutes. Do you not pay for the license?
No, well, every other one I've ever done with one other person, it's always been as long as you want. It's only when you've like 3 or more, they've sort of sent me that message. That's very weird. I might have to sort of run out the time.
I suppose I've never had a meeting with less. I've never done this with one person before.
Yeah, it's always been fine. According to the website, if it's one other person, it's limitless. But 3 people or more in the meeting, you have to pay like a monthly fee or something.
It's 125 pounds a year, the fuckers do. So they don't even let you pay monthly. Yeah, you have to buy for the year.
But anyway, I'll let the time run out, and then I'll invite you in again, and I'll just edit together. You know what I mean? It'll be fucking sweet.
Where are you? Are you in a shed somewhere, like our shed of truth, or are you just using it as a backdrop?
I'm using a wee backdrop. I'm in my kitchen. Funny enough.
You're an awful scallion.
Oh, you wouldn't know the deception. You know what I mean? I just found when you're this ugly and you just have a white backdrop, you look like a pound shop. You know what I mean? Alan Carr. You know
hence,
what I mean? Fucking poor.
Hence my purple background, just to make it. Is this going out in video? Actually, is it? Does it go out in video?
Oh,
I listened to it in audio on Spotify, but I don't know where it goes on video.
Yeah, you can just put it on the YouTube, but it goes to like my Patreon for like a week private, and then I just set it to public and stuff. I need to plug it a bit better, but the social media is a demon. You know what I mean? I'm sure you're kind of similar to me, where you realize the power of it, but it's a fucking necessary evil when you pump out content.
Yeah, sorry, you broke up there for that part. Was that for, you said about the podcast?
I was just saying, basically, pumping out content, it's 2 sides of a coin, where social media is terrible, but it's handy to have from this perspective, you know?
I don't have social media anymore. I have Instagram, but it's there for contact only purposes, like you just did to contact me.
Yeah.
I don't use it. If I've liked anything, it's because it's been the first photograph when I've opened up, but I haven't scrolled through it, and I don't know how long. And I got rid of Facebook back in March or April, so I'm not really seeing that now. So thankfully, I'm just sort of putting stuff out. I'm not actually taking anything. Podcast is the only thing now that I'm listening to. It's the only way I'm catching up with you guys.
Yeah.
But it's a weird one because we're technically doing 3 episodes. So I do the best one, and then Mickey and I do the Deck Chair and Yums. But then we have the Just Rabbit and On, which is a Patreon only episode on podcast. So it's more heavily linked in the conspiracy theory stuff because we weeded that out of our normal podcast and just let the weirdos come and follow us over to Patreon.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, which they did, and it was great. So yeah, it's weird. It's it was one of those ones where I was actually doing Shane's the other day as well, and I was saying to him that it's getting to that. It was getting to that point where I was just getting momentum. You know the crack, like when you're doing a stand up, you're just starting to get a wee bit of rhythm, and you're getting maybe bigger gigs and stuff, and then bang, the fucking lockdown. I was like, I swore 2020 was going to be the year, like, and then it just knocked me back a bit. But then this came out of it, the podcast. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know which. I know which one Mickey would rather have. He'd rather have the stage. But that's because he's sound like Ulster Hall. For me to go back now to like 30 people gigs and stuff, you're going.
Yeah, it's very tough because I felt the same as you, and I felt for our whole scene this year was going to be big, in that we're lucky enough that for some reason Northern Irish comedy fans are really committed now. Not like a good few years ago. You find people coming to see regularly, hearing a lot of the same stuff. You know what I mean? And the biggest testament of it is some of those boys are playing massive venues, and that's a testament to people here as much as it is their hard work. Like,
yeah, you think of 2020 and how it kicked off with Gettist in 2 nights in Odyssey or the SSE Arena. So this was going to be the year because Shane had just done Waterfront Hall, and you know, so you've got our group, if you want to call it that, our circuit, starting to do big venues, and then because we all benefit from that. You know, like even whether you're on the stage or not at those big venues, the fact that it's a comedian doing that, because I don't think there's a local amateur act that's able to sell out the SSE Arena and music scene. You know, there's nobody there that could do that. It's the likes of Colin or the likes of Shane coming up now this year. I mean, I think you know that's the new rock and roll, as they keep saying.
True. I mean, in terms of a music act, there's probably a few that could sell out the sort of limited seating of the arena, but it would take a hell of a lot of work. Whereas Colin and Shane, Paddy Raff have this organic, natural following.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And it takes get us into a second night. You know, it's probably unheard of for somebody that doesn't have you know, serious promotion or serious. I know I don't mean Shane's not serious, but you know, serious like management and a big team behind it. You know, it's all him and Maureen, and that's a testament to them. And the same machine in that sense. We've slogged through the shitty gigs. We've all done the fucking. Do you remember the gig? I think it was you that set it up in Strabane, and I want to say Dicey Riley's, but I don't think it was. I don't know if it was called Dicey Riley's. Was it a pub?
Yeah, it is Dicey's. It was upstairs. I was running it. I shouldn't have been anywhere fucking near it, to be honest, just because it was so early to stand up. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I remember you were on, but Shane hosted those gigs.
That's
so at
right,
least I had some sense there to go get someone better to MC, because usually someone starts a gig to get the stage time, whereas I just did short spots at it. But yeah, I
remember that. I remember it being horrific and difficult. Yeah. But I remember doing 7 minutes, and it was new stuff too, which is, as you know, makes you fucking more nervous. And I remember getting one laugh from Shane at the back. Yeah. Like proper out loud. Nobody else in the audience laughed. But I remember Shane laughing, and I was going, well, at least I know it's working. You know what I mean? But I mean, we've all done those gigs. We've all done those shitty gigs, and Geddes and Todd's the same. They've and Mickey, they've all done the shit to get up to there. So fair play to them. Like, and hopefully it'll happen to all of us at some point. We can keep working at it and keep plodding on. Yeah,
it's very weird that because we're all part of that group, you sort of get pigeonholed. And like, I get messages all the time going, why are you not doing characters like Shane and Colin and Mickey to an extent? And I just kind of feel that if I put up a sketch, it's because I think it's funny and I want to do it. I don't feel compelled. I've never sat there and went, right, I have to give a character now. If I think of one and I think it's got legs, I'll fire it out there. But I don't feel that that's the key to doing anything. I feel like everyone's got their own path, and you know, their own, you know, their own progression is so different. Like, I never saw myself ever doing a podcast, and then suddenly here we are.
Same thing.
You know what I mean? So you just don't know.
McCann's been on to me for a while. McCann's been trying to get me to do videos, you know, back when he was sort of picking up speed on his video or his videos, and I just, it's just not me. I don't want to, again, if I wanted to do it, I'll do it. But I also, and you'll have to do this too, you'll have to admit then that you do lose out on a following, because if you look at, say, McCann or McCartney, Mark McCartney's sort of new in the scene, but it came from the videos. But he had been slogging away in the background on the stand-up, which like we had done. And so maybe if we had done videos, it would have moved it forward. But at the same time too, you do then get sort of typecast. You know, people are going to sort of see the character at a live show, and that's hard to do. Thankfully, Geddes did a very, very good thing the way he operated, and it took him a while, but it took a long time to get people away from the notion they were going to see Barry the Blender.
100%. And even once he still get the odd person calling him Barry.
To be honest with you, he could have sold out a long time ago. Like he could have went on tour as Barry the Blender, sold out everywhere he went and all the rest, but it would have been him sort of, as you say, pigeonholed. And that's the genius of the guy, you know. But
God bless him. He's
Maureen's the brains behind that operation. Like,
100%. Yeah, he's useless.
He's just doing what he's told. So.
as if we're any different.
No, I'm sitting here like I'm a free man going, can I go out and do a podcast? One of my mates in there, please?
We've got less than a minute here, so I'll end this. I'll invite you in for another one. This is a pain in the doot, but sure.
It is. But
sure. There'll only be one more, and sure, we'll wrap up. It's still 2:40 minutes. Be dead on.
That'll do.
Yeah, no worries. Chat to you shortly. Cheers, bye. Bye. There we go.
Well,
What a pain in the howl, I have to say.
I know, but sure, that's what you get for being a miserable bastard.
I know, yeah. Fuck, literally, it's the first time it's ever done that. We've one other person. That's fucking weird, but I
didn't even know that was a rule. I thought you genuinely had to have a license. I've had a few meetings where they've went, "Oh, we're going to give you an extra 40 minutes."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it flashes up as a wee bonus. You know, it's like in Caffeine Euro, we get a wee cracker.
Yeah.
This wee bonus comes up and goes, "Oh, extra 40 minutes." You're like, "Oh, thanks very much."
I'm being sneaky. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory I have. You'll love this. That maybe because I've done 31 odd like Zoom podcasts with another person, and they've probably twigged that I'm doing it regularly and not paying for it. So they're sending me messages going, "Now, if you want to use it anymore, you have to start paying, you bastard." You know, like
they're watching.
They're watching me, sir. And if they're listening, God bless them, because they'll be bored off their fucking tits. You know what I mean? Just
God forgive you. I think we're having a very scintillating conversation.
Yeah, I mean, no, just me and the wife.
I just mean the other 30 ones. All right.
And the other bastards. Just
them other fucking born hers.
They must listen to me thinking they're going to get some like juicy gossip, and then it's just me saying to Lisa, "Orange twirl's nice, isn't it? Hey? Oh, fucking lovely." Hopefully they keep that on.
I would kill for an orange twirl now at this moment in time.
And I got tagged in some today. There's an orange galaxy now. Keep an eye out.
Oh,
sorry.
Not allowed. I have to be. I'm behaving myself. I have to be good.
All right enough.
Can't. I have to fucking lose some weight. Hey?
What?
Even just around the chin. If we could just get the chin sorted, it'd be all right.
Yeah, that's what's held you back
just
all these years.
Chin. That's all I'm doing. I'm just working on my chin. The rest is fine. It's just we can just sort the chin out.
Yeah, once the chin's sorted, you'll be playing the Odyssey. No sweat. That's it.
That's what's holding me back. Is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's that I think the comedy scene for us has been it's very natural. And it's just been a pure hard slog from performers and promoters alike, just trying to get gigs here and there, and sometimes the performers are the promoters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Funny enough,
it just takes.
I spoke to Billy Kirkwood last week, around this day last week, for the podcast, and naturally the legend that is Billy kindly came on, and naturally within 5 minutes of the podcast starting, we talked about the OMA Comedy Festival that he was heavily featured in.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And we just talked about the lightning in a bottle thing that, in what respect, on paper, maybe shouldn't have worked, but did. You know what I mean?
Never should have worked, yeah.
That's not me slagging.
Small town. No, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, we ended up speaking about that quite extensively. So, like looking back now, how do you feel about it? You must be delighted when you think about it.
I have a wee bit of mixed emotions because I kind of came in on the back of the hard work of Terry Keys and Chris Bowes, and but then I did my fucking fair share. So I never got in. But
you were still involved, like you were still a big piece of the puzzle, like.
Well, that's one of the sad things about a fledgling comedy club is that they don't have any money, and we still didn't have money at the end. But so it meant that I was doing the sound and doing the MC at the same time. So if you remember the old days, I used to sit at the side of the stage behind a wee desk, and so I was always to the left of any performer, just sitting there staring at them behind a wee fucking booth that nobody could see me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out until the breaks. So while the rest of it was a godsend in one way, but it was also a curse because the good thing was I got to watch so many great acts.
100%.
But the other problem is you sort of whilst the rest of the comedians were up having fun in the green room, I was sitting stuck on stage waiting, but I was also watching all this fucking class material.
Yeah.
And worried, going, I could be taking this material and I don't realize I'm taking it in.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's when you're constantly like, you know yourself going to a gig, you turn up to a gig and you'll go to the green and you might watch maybe the MC at the start, but you might not watch the rest of the acts.
Yeah.
But I was watching every single fucking minute.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get out there for like a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was very worried about that. I remember it getting to me really bad, going, fuck, I need to be careful. I don't start like copy material off, say, I don't know, Paul Curry or something.
If you were stealing from Paul Curry, it would be pretty obvious.
My wife came in one day and bit my cock off a pineapple. What are you doing? I'm doing a Paul Curry bit.
It's It's so weird that even now, when I tell people that I used to do stand-up gigs in Oma, being from Strabane, they always assume that they'd be like, was it not wild rough? No, because of where you're from and all. And like the first couple of gigs, I did my third gig ever in Dailies.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was the first 4 or 5 was obviously quite solemn, and then you kind of get a wee bit more momentum and stuff. But if anything, I would say it even now that you'll never feel as fucking top of the world as an act than you ever when you did dailies and you did well. There was no better feeling. You feel like you could fly if you did well in dailies for such a.
Yep.
I don't know what the max.
I remember you being
100-ish. Was it 100, 150? Maybe
120 at the very, very max,
yeah.
and that was like everybody at sardines. Like, but
and that was like Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean when it's packed, there's no better room in the country, to be honest with you, than whenever it's a packed room like that. And I remember you going down really, really well. I remember the people really taking to you whenever your first lucky gigs, and to the point that you were requested, you know, as one of those people to come back. And that was maybe one of our biggest problems, is that we kind of went down the route of big names, and that was a lot to do with Chrissy, obviously, and the contacts he had. But doing the big names meant that some of our local guys never got as many chances as they should.
Yeah.
And some of the best nights our regulars had were when it was with somebody on stage that didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Or that wasn't a big name. They were some of the best nights they had, you know. So we had some cracking lineups. Like, I mean, on one night you could have had you, Shane, Mickey, say Paddy, all in one go, and Neve Martin maybe, or, you know, you would have had like premier like lineup for £6 or something, you know, in Oma, which was weird. But
I think it wasn't your first gig, the open mic contest, was not your first. So that was me, Darren Matthews. I was on that. Yeah, I was on your first gig.
See, I was talking to Shane, was asking me about my first gig, and was like, who else was on? I was like, I know it was Neve because she should have won, and we're not talking about that. I says, but I can't remember. I knew Darren Matthews was involved, but I didn't know if Darren wasn't the host, wasn't he? Not obviously not. Who was the host?
Well, would have been Terry, because Shane only did like a.
Would have been Terry.
Shane did like a guest spot. He wasn't in the competition.
Yes, he was saying he was there to. So me, you, Neve, Darren, and who else?
Kevin Lockhart. Do you remember him? American fella.
Kevin, the American guy, right?
Yeah, yes, he was on.
Fuck, that's right.
And then I think it was that gig. Tell me if I'm 100% wrong here. Then the following gig, I think would have been like the first year gig, and that was Foil Arms and Hog. I want to say, maybe.
Oh, yeah, it might have been the Foil Arms and Hog after that, because I know Neve was brought back the following month.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the absolute shame of her not winning that gig. She should have won.
As an apology.
Fuck you, Neve. I brought my friends and family with me. Audience vote.
Yeah, but that's where the real word of mouth for dailies seemed to really almost technically in a weird way go viral. That's where everybody in your family that was fucking great, and then came back in the next month.
Exactly.
There, Christian Talbot, Foil Arms and Hog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's another fucking ridiculous lineup, and it just.
That's exactly what happened. Was I because of my day job, I work in the community. I fucking roped everybody I know to come along to give me support.
Yeah, that's brave.
But in doing so, I mean, you're talking probably 60-70% stayed. Yeah, every month.
It was just places.
Yeah, it was just like an icebreaker to get them in the door, and once they get in, they were like, "Oh, this is something different." And I think every small town would suffer that. You know, it would take people a while to figure out. Oh shit, this is a pub, but I'm not allowed to talk.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it.
To go to a small town and to go to your local pub but you're not allowed to speak is a weird thing for them to do. So that was my job then as MC, to keep them all quiet. But we still, I mean, you still had to have security there, and sometimes security just could be tapping shoulders. Hey, listen, you know, if you want to go and talk downstairs. Beautiful front bar down there. Yeah,
it's very weird that sort of attitude that you have is still prevalent in the way you host shows, because you're one of the few people that'll still do housekeeping, i.e. turn off your phones,
always
shut the fuck up, here's where the toilets are. Dare I say it, you're probably the only MC I've seen that does that regularly, to be honest.
I do it all the time, and that's number one, it comes from my day job of working with groups. When you're working with groups, sometimes you have to lay out the rules, because the exact same thing happens with a group as happens with an audience. All it takes is one person. One person can ruin a show completely, and that one person might have been somebody's friend who's never been there before. So if they've never been, and it's my argument to every single comedian who's going to do MC and go, all it takes is one fucker to ruin your gig, and they are well within their right to ruin your gig if you've never told them what the rules are.
That's a very good way of putting it.
You know, they're completely in the wrong when they've been told to start this is what the rules are. But if they continue, you go, well, they weren't told.
Yeah.
So how are they supposed to know? And even like when I got to dailies, I would do it every month. and okay, I wrote a bit of material around it and tried to make it funny, whatever. But it still was the same principle of going, shut the fuck up. You're watching a show here. You're coming to see a show. Heckles, as you know, we love a heckle. A heckle's fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to get a wee. Sometimes you get a wee a boost of applause from a retort to a heckle.
Yeah.
But somebody talking the way through, it's not only distracting to the act, but it actively ruins the show for the people around them.
Yeah.
Who are genuinely trying to listen.
Yeah.
So that's why security does play a big part in that, you know, to sort of say, come on, guys, you know, second tap on the shoulder and you're out.
Yeah, for fuck's sake, yeah. It almost felt like towards the end, the last couple of gigs I did there, it almost felt like the crowd themselves, the regulars, who you would have known quite well, they were almost like bouncers as well, because it got the point where dailies would be like, any regulars be like, will you shut the fuck up, because I've been looking forward to this since the fucking last one you dick.
Exactly,
It got to the point, and this is a sign of a good gig, and this is a very sort of Neil Dugan thing to say, but it's like, if the gig was supposed to start at 8:30, you'd have people sitting there full to the brim, like 8:10, the room's packed, and they'd kind of be looking at the comedians being like, are you going to fucking start? You may as well start now, because we're all here, man. They were that sort of crowd. We're like, man, the fuck, kick her off. You know what I mean?
Can't wait to get going.
100%. Like, some of my most best comedy memories are all dailies, man. 100%, even now.
Yeah, even for me, I mean, it was a curse sometimes because you. The problem with dailies and being a small town, and you would have it in Strabane and other places if you were doing it monthly, is it's roughly the same people. You know, you, as I say, 30-40% are new each month, but you then have to write new material. So every month I had to come up with at least 3 to 4 minutes of something new.
Yeah. And
to be honest with you, I just thought about this the other day when somebody was like, have you written any material? I was like, no. And I was like, I'm going to go back to the vault, because I remember doing so many like 3-4 minute bits, most of which didn't work.
Yeah.
But the joy of an MC is I fucking told them on the night, well, that didn't work, you know, but there was always something in it. But then there was times where I did bits and I'd forgot about them. And then I'd never done them again. Like, or you guys would never have seen them in Belfast or anything like that. And then you'd meet somebody like 2 years later and they'd come back to you and go, oh, fuck, do you know my favorite bit I've ever heard you do was that bit about, and I was like, I did that one time.
Yeah.
And I've never, you know, so there's a bit of a benefit to being an MC where you have to refresh every month. There's, you know, I had basically 36 months in a row of 3 to 4 minute bits that had to be done. So it adds up to a hefty thing. You just need to find me a notebook.
Yeah, that was definitely another dailies thing. I'll tell you a daily story as well. It's my favorite thing. I told it to someone else the other night. Can't remember who it was, might have been Kieran. But obviously I did a podcast with Kieran last Friday, so naturally it was 2 hours. You know, even on a podcast it goes overtime. God bless him. That's me.
The fuck I was going to say, that's rich coming from you, like.
But that's the thing about dailies, was that the people loved, as I say, more so the local people, so much that they remembered bits so inherently that you knew that they knew that you'd done it before. They kind of look at you and go, I still like the bit, but I've heard it. So the next time I see you, don't do it again. Yeah, and then there has been certain, like I remember so vividly some of the stuff that I did in dailies that went down ridiculously well. The first time I ever said eating scallions, riding hallions.
That's right. I remember I was there.
And the only time this bit has worked was when I did it in dailies, and I was doing the stuff about how Northern Irish people have a rep for being miserable, and we're actually so good at it that we can agree with what you're saying and still put it across in a negative way. And the main joke was how we would say, it's not warm. And then you go, he's not wise. It's a behavior like that's not on, isn't it not? And then I went, and Jerry Adams was not in the IRA, and the fucking place went mad. And then I know we need like sort of improvise a punchline, and it works, you know, because on the spot. So I was just like, that's just something I noticed. Am I right? Not wrong. You know what I mean? And it's one night ingrained in my head.
And it does have because it almost got like Def Jam comedy at times when something hit. it fucking hit. They were nearly up bouncing out of their seat with just pure enjoyment of it. Like, and the weird thing about it was they were genuine. I don't know where the fuck I got them out. I know most of them were my family and Chrissy's family, and then like people I knew, but they were genuinely comedy fans.
Yeah.
As in they really, because I remember a couple of, but Kevin McAleer was another one who said like they really understand, they really get the layers, the jokes and stuff that I wasn't expecting them to have, you know. So we built that sort of reputation, which was great. Like, but yeah, we can't wait to get back. We're going to come back, and we're going to come back to the monthly thing again, you know. But,
awesome.
It's
my daily story, because it definitely was like Def Jam comedy. It was mad. Hartley's Jam comedy, you should have called it, right? But, so the time I did it, I can't remember, and it was packed. I was sweating ballocks, you know yourself, when you get off on stage, you're fucking sweating.
Oh yeah, 4 big fucking lights shining on you.
I think whatever I'd done, I'd left work. I was working in the call center at the time. I was miserable. Had to get straight on a bus to get to Oma to be on time. So I had showered. But you know, when you're sitting in an office all day, you kind of leave looking a bit stinking. Then the set went well, and then I was so sweaty after it. I took my glasses off, so fucking forehead was going mad, stuck on the beanie, and then just went downstairs after the gig for pints for, you know, Tom Hawkinson. Do you know Tom? He used to come to the gigs. He's from Oma, basically. He looks like a white Mr. T. So we used to go for stouts downstairs.
Right.
And I got chatting to this guy at the bar, and the other fellow was like, "You up at the comedy night tonight?" And I was just like, I was indeed. And he's like, "It's fucking good up there every month, hey, isn't it?" And I was like, "Aye, it's great." And he's like, "It's great for the town." And this was around the time the Dave nomination had come in.
That's right. Oh fuck, I forgot about that.
He was like, they're up for some award and stuff like that there, and you're getting all these brilliant comedians coming down every month, and it's not an easy place to travel to, and you know, it's fucking great to have something once a month that brings so much joy to the people. It's very successful, and it's a credit to the people running it. And I agreed, naturally, as I still feel that way now.
Should have got his name.
Fuck guy. And then he was like, "But the biggest fucking achievement that club has ever fucking made was find a Strabane man who was fucking likable." Just sitting there going, I bought him a stout and had to go.
Did he know he was talking to you?
No, he had no idea. I had the beanie on.
Oh, he didn't know.
And I didn't have my glasses, so he didn't have a clue.
Ah, fucking deadly. Typical Oma, fucking put your foot in it there, man. Good man.
I didn't want to be like, yes, I was actually one of the acts. I'm an artist. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be that. Didn't want to be that rich. But like, yes, so
that's it's even worse saying that when you were on stage to somebody else. Go, oh, do you not remember? I was up there. But well, actually, that's just proof that the whole Superman theory works.
Yeah.
Glasses on, glasses off.
Exactly.
Recognize them.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things. I had to like.
But it is something. That was surreal that time about the Dave Awards. That was the Dave TV channel where I still don't know what happened. But when you see the list of the top 5, we came second. But to see the top 5, it was like number 1, Frog and Bucket, Manchester.
Yeah. And
then number 2, Daly's Oma. And then after, you were expecting more wee small towns. After that, it was like Frog and Bucket, London, and it was Comedy Store, or, you know, Jongleurs, or whatever the fuck the case may be. And it just was so out of place. You had Edinburgh, Manchester, London, and Oma.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah, it was surreal. And actually, the reason they gave us an award was because they weren't going, they didn't have a runners-up award. It wasn't something they were going to give out, but it was because we were so close to being number 1.
See, I didn't know that.
Like really close. They went, we just couldn't believe such a small gig, blah, blah, blah. So as a committee, we came together and said, listen, we're going to give you a run-up award. And we're like, oh, fuck, happy days. Thank you very much. So we were so close to being the best comedy club in the UK, which is fucking mental.
Yeah, because it felt weird for me because I say my 3rd gig ever was there, and there was a mic, but there wasn't a mic stand. It had the optical illusion black and white backdrop. That's, you know, it had that wallpaper and stuff. And there was maybe 13 people at it. So it was me, Sean Haggerty, Rory Ward, Harry McGarry, and Damien Hickey. That's how much of a psycho. That's the exact lineup. So I think it was Rory closing, I want to say, or maybe Haggerty, I'm not sure. And then to see it get awards, and then like honestly, it was so fucking rammed each week. Like, I mean, it just turned into this fucking monster.
Well, it became, as I say, it was every month, and then we had tour dates. So the tour dates would be like an extra a day that would randomly, could be middle of the week, could be anything depending on the act.
Yeah.
And the tour dates brought in obviously some big names. But still, even all the tour shows we did, the regulars really just loved the local nights. And I say local as in the Northern Ireland, because we had ones come from England and Scotland and down south and stuff. But the local circuit of the guys now that would be, I suppose everybody would sort of say the Lavery's crew, that was the group everybody wanted to see. And thankfully it's starting to come to fruition now as times went on. But yeah, good times, man. And unfortunately, my poor granny passed away, so the sausage rolls unfortunately stopped as well.
Yeah.
But they, I'm saying to Shane the other day, like they were nearly as famous as the fucking club. Which was,
I don't know what she did, but God bless her. That was dynamite. They were dynamite.
Mental. It actually got me in. This is the sad story of Dailies, and I've never told us. You're getting exclusive here now. I don't think anybody knows this.
What do you see? This will buffer or this will collapse or something. Now you see, or I'll catch fire. You see?
I'm going to wait till the 39 minutes is up and start talking, and it cuts off. We basically, I had two names I wanted to get in dailies. I never had any involvement in bookings or business. I always said I was the good looks and the talent.
Yeah.
Chrissy did all the bookings and all that sort of stuff. But my two dream names were Kevin McAleer and Tommy Tiernan. I was like, if I can get those two, that's my fucking life complete. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Now we got Kevin, which shouldn't be too hard because he's 3 miles away. But Kevin was nearly as hard to get. But Kevin, so we got him in. And then I wanted Tommy Tiernan. And Bows just would not contact. There's no way he's going to do it. 120 people, blah, blah. And he was right in that sense. There's no way. And I said, but listen, I'll write the email. You send it. And if they say no, they say no. And it's job done, whatever. So I wrote the email and basically spun it in a way of going, listen, we know you've done this. We know you've done that. We know you've done X, Y, and Z, but you've never done dailies.
Yeah.
And, we also have the best sausage rolls in the country. And,
yeah.
Which was so it turned out that email was sent and we basically requested him to come along, and that was the April, and on the week we got an email back from them to say no, we're not interested in bringing the tour show there, but Tommy would be interested in come along and doing an hour improvised. We were like, fucking yes.
Yeah.
And that weekend the bar closed down. Do you remember it closed for a couple of years? He was due to come that September. He was supposed to come in that September and do an hour, and it was and what had happened was we found out subsequently. I think Ardle O'Hanlon had been speaking to him at some point because again word was spreading all around. Who else did somebody? Oh, Tom Benz. When Tom Benz came to do Ivan Brackenbury, and that I think he knew him or something, and he talked to him about how good it was. So word had gotten to the likes of Tommy Tiernan and that. And I think David O'Doherty was another name we had in who just absolutely loved the room. So we had got it, and so I haven't given up yet. I know we're coming back next year, hopefully. So he'll still be on my list.
It'll happen, man.
Kevin could just wander in without even realizing he's there. Just out for a wee dander.
Did Kevin do it a few times? Because I think was there a Christmas show that Kevin did? Because I was on that.
Yeah.
And
yes, there was a Christmas show.
I think that was the gig. Dare I say it? It was me, McAleer. I can't remember who else was on. Barry McElduff, sir. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Barry McElduff. I don't know what he's doing now, but he did.
A lot of people blame me for what happened to Barry McElduff. We boosted his ego and made him believe that he was funny and could do funny videos and stuff. That didn't work out too well.
Didn't do that too right. That's a weird thing.
That was a weird one, and that's actually just. That's typical Barry. I mean, I know him personally through work and stuff, but he genuinely does love the crack, and that's the way he put it was. There's other ministers and MLAs who play Gaelic or go golfing or whatever, and I just like the crack. So he was coming up to do that, and the worst thing is he fucking did well.
He did do right thing, to be fair.
Really fucking annoying at the time, but and then, again, it wasn't. I thought he'd crumble under the pressure, but let's be honest, it wasn't the first time somebody in Sinn Féin was put in a dark room with a light shining in their face. You know what I mean? So
it's a breeze. Yeah. Man, see when
that was a Christmas gig, but
yeah, when I think back, like, remember you used to get like Dara Tracy, and to the later extent was it Christopher Eccles used to put up, the album from
Chris
Dailies,
Eccles, yeah, that's right, yeah.
stuff like that there. And then when you look back,
Do you know what? There's
fucking people he's had is mad.
It's mad when you see the faces, but as well as that, there were some comedians in the South who sometimes we found out when they got up there, not the headliner, but say somebody who did a car share with the headliner or something like that, was coming up because he knew he'd get his photograph taken professionally. And the amount of people, the amount of Southern comedians who ended up with either Chris Eccles or Dara Tracy's photo as their profile picture on Facebook or whatever the case may be, that was the thing, because nowhere else was doing it. So it was something that was very organic. That was before my time. I mean, Dara Tracy was amazing, and he just, like a fucking ninja, would pop up anywhere. And then Chris was the same. He was getting the shots that were unbelievable.
Yeah.
And yeah, just when you look back over that album, it does be fascinating when you kind of forget some of the names.
Yeah.
Especially like the tour or the festivals. We did 2 festivals, and
oh wow, you did 2?
I think 2. The second one, I mean, the second one got bigger because the second one was our 3 big headlines. On the Friday night was Jason Byrne, Saturday night was Andrew Maxwell, and Sunday was Reginald Lee Hunter.
I did the late night, late and live in Bogans after Reginald Lee Hunter's gig. That's the time I did it. Yeah, that was good.
Made up for it, but
it was like Eric Lawler was there.
That's right, Eric's fucking brilliant too, yeah.
Me and Paddy drove down. It was Kieran,
that's right, yeah.
Kieran Bartlett or Ryan Cullen there or something, or maybe I'm getting confused with
Cullen, I think was there too, yeah. No, it might have been, I think, yeah. It was a cracking lineup anyway. And yeah, it was just a bit of a sorry, because this is the fucking annoying thing too. As you will know, being in the business of show,
yes,
that do you know when you go to in advance sending the writer, you always have, what your writer is.
Yeah.
So the writer is the list of things you want in the dressing room.
Yeah.
So Reginald D. Hunter sent in a writer. Water, a couple of bottles of beer, blah, blah, blah. And then there was one white grapefruit juice. And I was like, and in brackets, in capital letters, not pink.
Specific.
Very specific. So we're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Searched every shop in Oma, like fucking terrible. Every shop, all they had was pink grapefruit juice.
Yeah. I've never even heard of white grapefruit juice. Never even heard of it.
Same as that, didn't even know it existed. And we searched and fucking sent people everywhere. No good on the supermarkets, on the small shops. We finally found it in a Polish food shop. And
in Poland?
Yeah, one of the boys just went for a wee cycle. And so we were so relieved we got the fucking white grapefruit juice, went and got it in the fridge and all the rest, and the fucker drank the vodka raw. When he left the night, grapefruit juice wasn't touched, wasn't opened. And out of all the shit that he did about fucking up on the thing and having a breakdown and drinking and all that, nothing allowed me more than the fucking search for that bastard grapefruit juice that I didn't even know existed. And then the elation of finding it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you think we found the fucking Ark of the Covenant? We thought, this is holy fuck. And yeah, that wasn't even, the seal wasn't even broken. I thought, you fucking wanker, why do that? Like, yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Like,
so, and then part of me afterwards, and the weeks leading after, going, was that like a trolling thing? Did they do it in badness? And like, I'd love to know, were they genuinely shocked, going, oh my fucking god, they actually got white grapefruit juice? Like, was it something they just like, we're going to send some lackey out to go and look for this fucking thing?
Yeah.
But no.
So you think like maybe they made it up just to see if you could, just to
see if it do it. Yeah, like asking for the green M&Ms only or something like that. Just something fucking ridiculous to see will they do it. And us 2 decades went out and ran the country looking for it, and we did. But at least now you know where you can get white grapefruit juice. You know what I mean?
Pomegranate Dr. Pepper or something. Just something really fucking weird.
Yeah, something you didn't know existed. Oh, well.
Fucking hell, man.
So that was our festival. That was our last festival, unfortunately, because the bar, as I say, went into sort of liquidation types or receivership or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's back now, thankfully, but only just back, like as in the end of last year. Yeah. So we haven't really got a full run through again. We only got a couple of shows in, a couple of tour shows, whatever, and I think Geddes did one, and maybe Shane at some point, but we just haven't got back in the full swing of it yet. But that is the plan, hopefully. The other problem is, as you probably know, everywhere wants to be a comedy venue now.
Yeah,
So,
everywhere, which is fundamentally a good thing, but the learning curve and
a good thing, but not
yeah,
not in a small town. You know, a small town should be one comedy club, maybe an open mic club, but that would be it. I mean, Belfast or Dublin or Galway, even Derry to a certain extent, you could have a couple of comedy clubs, but there needs to be just a small town needs to have one comedy club, because it's not fair on the audiences. You'll have different owners doing different approaches. Then it's not fair on the acts who are going to get approached by another venue to come and to try and get you to come to a gig, whilst you also know you do dailies, and it's a real shitty fucking scenario. Like.
Yeah, it's more hassle than it's worth, for sure. But I think it would be good. I mean, like, I know there's been a bit of sort of traction in Strabane gigs because of yourself and Ronnie Boyle, the artist formerly known as Ronnie Boyle. So I know that's feasible. From why I wasn't at the show, but it would be cool to have, you know, a wee bit more in those small towns, because, you know, when you start out, that's exclusively what you did. You went to places that sounded like they were in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
To do 5 minutes in an abertoire or a fucking TK Maxx changing room, or, do you know what I mean? So
did you ever do the gigs for what did you call them?
I think I know who you're on about.
Lee? No. Yes. Gigs that will haunt me for the end of my lifetime.
Yes. Oh yes.
Probably some of the greatest learning as well.
You need it. It's a rite of passage. You have to do it.
It was absolutely necessary, and probably one of the main reasons why I was doing housekeeping. Yeah. Because of gigs I got was where I realized, why is nobody telling me what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. Nobody's even told the acts what's going on. Never mind the fucking audience. Yeah. So those were hairy gigs now, because those ones as well, you know, when you're desperate and you're only starting out and you don't know the lay of the land. So I was driving from Omagh to Newton Ards, or Ards, whatever the fuck you call it. Yeah. I knew it was far away anyway. I didn't know. I'd never been there before. Yeah. And you're going there and there's no money, so you're paying the diesel cost yourselves, and so that was. And I mean, I did a couple of Dublin journeys, like quite a few Dublin journeys. I'm sure you've done the same.
I did loads.
There's no money, and it's just. I think it was genuinely, no joke. I think it was like maybe 5 years before it started to get. My aim was always to get to a point where a promoter would contact me. Instead of me contacting a promoter. That's all I wanted to get. That's only I wasn't looking fame, I just thought I would love to be known as somebody that's reliable to be called upon. We'll turn up on time, we'll make the audience laugh, and we'll be a dick. Yeah. And that's all I was looking for. So but that took about 5 years. It does. To realize that I wasn't a dick. It takes that long for people to figure it out. But you know what I mean? It was like a hard thing going, fuck. And then, I mean, you know yourself, been married and stuff, you're then fighting, and my wife's going, you're driving to Dublin and you're working tomorrow morning. I'm like, I know. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. How much is the diesel? I was like, it's only been like £45.
Yeah. You do the husband mumble. You know what I mean? Only fucked around the hours.
But yeah, that's not saying it's paid off now. Like I'm fucking rolling or not, but it was getting to the point there where you had a set sort of, not a regular income, but you knew you were going to get enough gigs that month to sort of to get money in, you know. But hopefully we don't have to start from fucking scratch again next year. Fuck,
if I'll be out the game if that's the case, like, because you know what I mean. Like,
do you think the podcast helps? Do you think the podcast helps? I found it, because I do believe there's a big thing about, I know it's a bit of a cliche now, but stand-up being therapy, but it's not until it was taken away from us that we actually realized, fuck, this might be therapy. Because I think if it wasn't for Mickey coming to me with the podcast, I don't know how I would have survived, because you're getting that laughter out there, and you're getting to hang out with one of your mates, you know what I mean, that sense, and another comedian, and that wouldn't have happened the other way.
Yeah, I think, from my point of view, I have threatened for like the last 2 or 3 years to take a break from stand-up, because even literally speaking to you right now, you know, I still feel like I'm still not quite, I can't be 100% sure that I've got the chops to do it. I don't, like, I'm so critical of myself. I'm not even fishing for compliments. I know it's not.
No, but at this stage of the game, I know what you mean. It's the wee bit of imposter syndrome that never leaves us, I don't think.
Yeah. So
I have it all the time, man.
I seen this as like a welcome break, like a forced break, because I never took the break, and I was scared that if I did, I wouldn't get to see everybody. I'd fall out of the pecking order, and I would come back, say, after a 6-month break and struggle to get stage time. But now this has kind of been forced upon me.
We have seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people saying, I'm taking a year out, I'm going to take a wee break, and then they don't come back.
Yeah.
And it's not that they don't get back in, it's just they don't actually come back. They just
you just don't
want to come back. Yeah.
You don't hear from it. Like it's tough. So I seen this as like a very welcome break, but at the same time, it's I've done a lot of cool stuff and met a lot of cool people, but I got a lot of perspective on it this year. But I feel like if I had to go back to square one, I don't know if I could go through the Balax again. Do you know what I mean? I kind of felt and I don't know if it's arrogance or misplaced ego or what it is, but it's...
You know what it is, man? It's age.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting that wee bit older and you're going, fucking don't want to go back to the... My thing was I started at your age.
Yeah.
So I started 30. I'm 10 years this year, or November.
Yeah.
So it was like a bucket list of my 30th sort of thing I made up. It was to try it out. So I was late enough starting to it. But if I thought I had to go back, I was bad enough being the oldest of our group anyway. But now if I have to go back to the fucking start of the pecking order and be the oldest fucking open micer or whatever, it would be tough work. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Because I always felt when I started, if I could get to the stage where I didn't do open mics unless I wanted to do them, to try out stuff, that was my sort of benchmark. But then, as I say, the roller coaster for all of us, you look at people that are playing arenas and then suddenly you're Colin Murphy's opening act on tour. I mean, that's fucking brilliant. And then, I remember it hit home for me, obviously, via my wife, who's got the perspective that I don't have, because I'm so hypercritical. I don't see stuff for the way they are. Where I opened for Geddes at the Ulster Hall, and I was sitting here in the flat, and I was like, right, I'm just going to go do this, and then I'll be back. So I finished my tea, landed up, did 1,000 people, chatted to Geddes for it, and walked home, and I was like, you want a cup of tea? And she was like, do you realize what you just did?
I know.
But when you start stand-up, you get a fucking drop kick and run out of a fucking window to get that opportunity. So
unreal.
I've kind of learned now that, you can still love stand-up, but even when you get to the stage that you feel would have been the dream when you started, there's always more to it. So you're always going to go, well, do you know what I mean? Will I be able to do Colin Murphy's next tour? You know what I mean? Because I want to do well on this one. And could I be doing that?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? There's always more you could be doing, which is...
You always want to keep the standard up. And I mean, that's a good example for me with Murphy. I mean, I was lucky enough to get asked back the second. No, sorry, I'm lying. I didn't ask. He didn't ask me. Murphy doesn't ask anybody. I just said to him, I was, listen, man, have you got anybody lined up for this year? And he was like, listen, if you've got a new 20, I'll be more than happy if you come back on. I was like, no, actually what he said to me was, this year I'm going to change it up a bit. I'm going to get a few different acts in. But if you've 20 new ones come along, and then I did the first 2 or 3, and he was like, what, I'm just going to keep with you. I was like, that's all right. So I was there to the end. But I mean, watching him in action. Do you know when you watch somebody who's been on it, like that man's maybe 25, 28 years of it. When you watch his show on the first night to the last night, and all the tweaks and changes and all the things he does in the middle and how he operates and stuff. I mean, that there, don't tell him this, but you do it for free. Just the learning you're getting from that.
I think he's like, even now, the one comedian I've ever wanted to impress was Colin Murphy. Anytime I did the Empire, even if he just went, good job.
And you never will.
No, fucking never will. He hates it.
Just that personality. You're like, oh, okay.
I got one time I got a well done fella at the Empire, and that was me for the year. I was like, fucking happy days. I think he's brilliant. The MC,
he's unreal, and probably one of the best MCs I've seen. And then, as I say, when you watch him in operation and how he dissects and takes apart a set and changes it around and adds this bit in, and as wee diagrams he has of how the set runs and stuff, I was like, oh, that's how the pros do it.
For sure.
As he said himself, that's his way. Other people do it different ways, but that's the way he does it. But so then to get that, I mean, like, because he does 2 Ulster Halls as well, and then you add in Shane's 3 years in a row. It turns out I have done the Ulster Hall 9 times.
Fuck, have you really? I've only done it twice, you bastard.
But again, as you said, all I dreamt of was to do it one time.
Yeah.
Now, none of those 9 times has been my show, as
Yeah.
my mother likes to remind me at all times.
Yeah. Such a
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, that probably is then the next. Everything has to evolve, and your dreams have to evolve, I suppose. So my next dream would be that someday I could do the Ulster Hall myself. But
yeah,
I think this year I'm going to go back. I'm back again, Mickey, because Mickey's got us to do. We're sort of doing that. He's got his show in Ulster Hall, and I'm going to do the warm up as like a lecture and yums type thing.
Oh, sweet, man. That'd be brilliant. So, it's I always found when I did the Ulster Hall with the lads, which you were at, you know,
that's right.
that was me happy enough. But then when I did it the second time, I was like, when you do a big room the first time, you're so in the moment, you can't appreciate, and you don't really feel comfortable. Whereas the second time, because I had a longer, doing a warm up set, like 20 minutes, half an hour, you can relax into it. But that squad gig that I did, we had about 12 minutes, and I think weirdly enough, I was the only herd who fucking kept his time that night. You know what I mean? But you just kind of do it.
It is a spectacle of it, isn't it? Yeah. And then you don't understand the physicality of it, because you kind of, that was my problem the first time doing it, was with Shane, and the laughter is like a wave. Because the room's so big and the acoustic's so big, it's not as instant, obviously, as like dailies when they're right in front of you. Yeah. So there's this, and then a gap between you and it took me maybe 2 or 3 times to get over that. But then to the point, like not the last time, but the time before that, I tried new material in the middle of the set.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have dared because not at the start.
Not the fucking mission, but it was only 1 minute or 2 minutes, but it was enough of the confidence to go, well, this is genuinely the place to make sure it does work.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes, do you find this that sometimes if you go to an open mic gig, especially the harder ones, say the PAV or something like that, and you try new material and it dies flat in its hole.
Yeah.
And then
you lose faith.
You would get rid of it. But then just something niggles you, going, I'll try it somewhere else, and it fucking kills. And you're going, see, I would have get rid of that completely if I hadn't.
Yeah, I think it's that thing.
So that's why I remember William Thompson going, I was fucking ballsy doing that. And I was like, it was, but I also was like, I'll genuinely know if that 1 or 2 minute works.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no faking it in there. Like, it's not going to, so.
Yeah, I always feel like you need to give it 9 or 10 gigs, before you can definitively go, it's good or it's bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it starts off good, you can always make it better. But yeah, sometimes it needs a fair crack of the whip where you need to do it in the PAV and then the Empire and then see how it does in Lavery's and all that. But again, that's just the curve of it. You just never, no matter how long you're doing it, you just don't fucking know if it's funny until you've done it a few times in front of a crowd. And that's the best thing about stand-up. It doesn't matter how long you're into it.
Yeah. Every time I try something new, I feel like, especially a new full set, like a big chunk, like a 10, 15 minute bit or whatever, I genuinely feel like it's my first time every time.
Exactly.
I don't get confident about the bit, or I don't get confident about the material. I go, oh fuck, is this going to work?
Yeah.
Because there's no way of knowing.
You just don't. Yeah, you've no idea.
Before you go up, you can do the Bartlett thing of going, here, is this funny?
Yeah.
But but you can't
do the Kieran Bartlett thing. You know what I mean? Just do Kieran and tell them it's funny.
This is funny. I'm going to fuck you down your throat.
Yeah. God bless him. Huh? Yeah.
I fucking love him, man. He's
the best. But he's the Marmite dude, as we found out in the was it the Silver Birch? Do you remember that? Oh Jesus.
No, do you remember I had him at the theatre in Oma?
I heard the story.
I wasn't at that. No.
No.
Oh my fucking God. I like, the thing is, I knew what I was getting. I wasn't shocked. Yeah. But I just didn't think the audience would be as shocked as they were. But as you say, it was a Marmite thing. It was now 80-20 in fairness, but 80% fucking absolutely loathed them. But 20% were like, that is the best thing I've ever fucking seen. There was no in between. There wasn't like, oh yeah, it was all right. It was like, I fucking hate him, or that is the best thing since fucking Bill Hicks. Fucking. So yeah, we love Kieran.
Yeah, either way, he's hard to follow. That's the best way I can describe it.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
There's few comedians on our sort of circuit. I always say our circuit because it rules out the blame game boys, because you don't.
Yeah.
I don't put them into that. Nobody wants to follow one of them guys.
Yeah.
But I think in our circuit, like you don't want to follow Teresa Livingston.
No,
Because
definitely.
music fact, I don't want to follow Paul Curry. Nobody can follow Paul Curry.
No,
because
definitely.
usually the place has to be cleaned up before anybody else can do anything.
You like slip on a live chicken or something.
the techno bread fight in Daly's was the fuck. You had to see the staff who had to just like 17 brushes of crumbs. But yeah, there's certain acts you don't want to follow, and Kieran Bartlett's definitely one of them.
Yeah. It's a fucking crazy world, huh?
Sometimes you want to follow them just to sort of give out mental health advice to the audience.
Yeah, just want to see if everybody's
listen,
all right.
guys, if you've been affected by tonight's performance, here's the telephone number to contact. Just the Samaritans up on the screen behind you going, don't worry, it's only Kieran. It's only Kieran.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need to walk on stage with a Bluetooth speaker and play Katrina and the Waves and just let it waft around the room just to get the mood back. Anyway, man, I think I'll love being leave you there if that's all right.
Thank you very much. Thanks for getting me on WoodsTalk.
You're very welcome.
I love the name, by the way, obviously.
Yeah, it's fucking great, doesn't it?
Works so well, yeah.
That's the only good thing about it.
But, no, the backdrop's good too.
Yeah, and this fucking funeral for a friend 90s emo haircut.
I didn't want to say, like, I was more into that. I thought you had just joined the MC army.
Oh yeah, for sure. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna start slitting my wrists. That's my new opening bit for the next show at the Ulster Hall. We've 13 people. Socially distanced, you know what I mean? But yeah, so Deck Chair and Yums and Best of the Best, where people can just get them all audio platforms.
Yeah, on the usual places, Spotify and Apple, whatever. Come and listen in. I mean, you can join and be a patron for the Uber Dark Rabbit Hole one if you want.
Oh, yeah, for the mad shit.
Yeah. But that's only for certain clientele. That one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a certain demographic. Yeah. Is there any talk for either of the podcasts to make them video podcasts or anything? Or are you going to stick to audio just because of convenience?
I think Deck Chair and Yums. I think me and Mickey's going to head towards the video now. If there was ever two faces, it should not be on video. It is ours, but unfortunately, people are into it, man.
Pound shop live, man. You know what I mean?
It seems to be people are into it. I do see a lot of people will put up on their stories. That's the only thing I see on Instagram with stories. Is like people would up and going to watch General Banter now, and they'll have it up on like the 50-inch fucking TV in the living room. I'm like, fuck, people actually watch this. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
People are into it. I don't understand it myself, but that's why I sort of moved into it. Like they look shite at the start, all my video ones, but they're getting a wee bit better. You know what I mean? It takes a bit of time. But thanks again for coming on.
Not at all. Thank you very much. And think about your best of the best. We have to have you narrow down to one out of those three genres, so you have to choose which it is.
Aye, I will.
Let us know. We will be in touch in the new year to get you on it, but have a think of what it is.
Absolutely, definitely.
Let us know.
Definitely will. If I don't get speaking to you, but obviously I'll try to on the Insta. But have a lovely Christmas and for the family. Hopefully it's quiet, because that's the benchmark.
Oh, that's usually the good sign, is it? Oh, no, I think it's going to be probably one of the most mental Christmases we've ever had.
Yeah,
everybody's going to start off really socially distanced till about 3 p.m.
Yeah,
when the slur kicks in, and people go mental.
Tell me this before you go: is it slur or slower?
I say slur.
I say slur.
But don't forget, I'm surrounded by people who also say dur and fleur. So I don't know.
I want to hear.
I don't know if that's.
I want to hear all three of those words in the same sentence. You spell the slur by hitting it off the dur and the fleur. You hear.
So I say slur, but that's because I'm a her, and it may be.
How many bottles did you buy? Fair.
Oh, that's pure.
Yeah,
no, that works actually. No,
that works as fucking well. But yeah, have a nice Christmas, man, and I will.
Same to you, man. Yeah, and the best.
Very soon. I'll let you get back to the farms.
But yeah, same to you, best to your beloved, and have a good one. Don't do anything I would do.
All right, fair enough, man.
Cheers, bud.
All the best.
Later.
Take it easy. Bye bye.